Good morning. And thank you guys so much. I was going over the words. And I thought, we really have said everything all. And then I thought, well, that's just because maybe I got to spend a number of days in silence this week and kind of found it one of those places it's hard to leave. Wonderful renewing experience. But there's something that it was strengthened for me in this time that I got to spend this week. But it is a very special place that I'd like to invite you into. It's something to become aware of, that we have within us this very special place that we can access, that is really the place from which that which we call miracles happens. Okay, it's that place where we are suddenly able to step into another dimension of perception. To expand our awareness and to touch levels of potential within ourselves that we didn't even know existed. An amazing place, and it's something that I hear every now and then we talk about in our world, and it kind of has an acknowledgement within our society. The term that we keep using for it is the now. In this place called the now, the now moment. And one of the challenges is that there is an understanding that our world kind of has of that. Because as we approach it, it empowers us as human beings in a number of ways. So there's a number of ways that in our society we've talked about it, but those really don't touch it. For instance, one of the terms that I keep hearing as I look at the different ways we express it is to really be present. Okay, to really be present for someone. To be present in what you're doing and the tremendous power that brings. Well, the truth is, you can be very present with someone, and that does make a difference. And you can be totally present with your mind. Your mind is fully capable of focusing on what's before you in this present moment. Okay, you're talking with someone, and you're really listening to that person. You're listening fully. Or you're in a project, okay, and you've got everything, and your whole attention is there. It's right there. Now, the mind has that ability to do past and future and, get stimulated into old stuff that projects into new stuff. And we know that the mind does that sort of thing. And it's doing it all the time. But it also has this ability to focus. But the now is so much more than that. See, to the now, to that experience of being present, which we really do a lot, and we do with our mind, add your heart. Okay, in that experience of being present, for instance, if we take, and one of the ways to activate the heart is to use the feeling of appreciation. So if you're present in this moment, but you begin to feel appreciation, your perception begins to change. Okay, suddenly your awareness of what is taking place, of what is in this moment, expands. So instead of my telling you about it, let's just do it together. Okay, so if you would, let's just take and be aware of being present here. Start with that physical awareness. Okay, aware of your body. Okay, it's sitting in these chairs, and already they're probably getting a little uncomfortable, and that's okay. It's just the way they feel. They're just chairs, but they're supporting your body, and your body's, maybe a little cool or comfortable, whatever's going on. You're just being aware. Okay, and you're hearing the sound of my voice. Okay, we're sharing ideas. You have that awareness of your mind that is stimulated and looks and says, yes, I understand that. What about that? I don't agree with that. Whatever happens with it, you have that alertness of your mind. Be aware of. That's in this moment. Okay, and in this moment, your attention is mostly focused up here. There's a little bit of it that, knows you'll have a couple friends coming in 20 or 30 minutes and that didn't get the clocks changed, but that's okay. But mostly it's right here. Okay, so being aware in this moment, and then now to that, okay, let's add the next step. Now add the feeling of appreciation. Okay, appreciate that illumination of your mind. Wow, that you have that ability to be aware. That you understand what is shared at level after level after level with your wisdom and your insight. Okay, and appreciating and appreciating the beautiful energy that we're in. Created by the music, created by the presence of these people who are gathered here with you that are so similar in their commitment, in their journey, that have said, I want to learn. I want to give to myself and support others in this expansion of awareness. Appreciating that, appreciating this amazing body that keeps putting up with all we do to it. It's just an amazing thing. And this day, sunshine on the lake, what a moment. Okay, is that a little different? You feel a little different in that awareness and what we're touching? Now the next step. The next step is to add to that which your heart is perceiving the awareness of the presence of God. And I often think the easiest way to do that is simply to remember that you're loved. That in this moment is but one eternal moment in which you have been loved from the very moment that you came into existence, through this journey that the earth that encompasses this experience in this moment. And that love has been there every moment. That love in your awareness not only gives you understanding, but it guides you in every single moment. Whether you want to listen to it or not, doesn't make any difference. That love is there giving itself to you. When you don't love, it loves you. It loves in and through you. That presence, that very life that is filling your body, is entering in and supporting you because it loves who you are, and it is so committed to you that it has provided everything for your journey along this way. And has provided the amazing people that it has brought into your life. How loved you are. The people, the opportunity to touch and support and be supported. What an experience of love. What an experience of that divine presence. We're not only present in this moment, in our hearts, but we are aware of the presence of God. That is the now moment. And this journey, because it is is this portal for this movement through dimensions of perception. It's been taught. It was one of those beautiful pieces of ageless wisdom. Let me share from you from Rumi, the beautiful 13th century Sufi poet. He says, "This we have now." Okay. This we have now is not imagination. This is not grief or joy, not a judging state or an elation or sadness. Those come and go. This is the presence that doesn't. This eternal presence. Now, this we have now. There's one of the understandings when we enter into the now is we have this ability to transform the experience that we're in. Literally, we are lifted up into higher possibilities within the soul. One of the ways that this shows up is in Jesus' experience. When we look at his unfolding and we realize that it's this picture of the soul's growth into full awareness, the growth into the Christ self of each being. And so there's a point where by entering into the now for the first time, he is able to acknowledge the Christ self. And it happens in the experience where he's in Samaria and he's in a dialogue with a woman at a well there. And Samaria is one of these countries that are areas that has kind of a crossbreed of Jewish people, so it's very much looked down upon in Judaism. But he's in this place and he's in this dialogue with this woman, and they're into kind of, how should you worship? What's the right way? Is the Samaritan way or the Jewish way? And he begins this particular phrase I want to share with you. He begins with it by talking about the future. And then he switches his awareness. He switches into the now. And at that point, the entire dialogue and teaching changes. Okay, he says, "But the hour is coming." And then the switch. "But the hour is coming, and now is when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For such people the Father seeks to be his worshipers." So from this whole outer orientation, there is this switch into the spiritual understanding of the experience of worship itself, of the spirit of that connection within, and then that is followed by his acknowledgement of, for the very first time, of the finding of the Christ self within himself. So it helps me to look and say, okay, so that's part of what happens in the now. Because of that direct spiritual connection, we get to see what the possibilities are. We get to see ourselves in a whole different way. Now, moving it out of Bible stuff into here and now and what's going down, let me share maybe that story in a different way. This is the experience of a woman by the name of Glenda Green. And Glenda's an artist and who's had some very, very meaningful spiritual experiences in her life, and someone that I know and have connected with, and I hope someday we'll get her here to speak to us. But Glenda found herself in New York City, and she was there. She was illustrating a book or something. And it turns out she's from Texas, and so she and her husband wanted to get this dog. They wanted to get a wire-haired terrier. And it turns out there are a number of kennels in the New York area, and she had some free time, so they'd agreed she'd check out the dogs. So, she called up and did an interview with the breeders, and so here was one. She liked the people. They had some puppies. She wrote down the address, rush hour in New York, so she went down and got on the subway. Okay, and so she's headed along the subway. She actually got on at the Wall Street station. Everybody's in their nice business dress, and she's in her, all dressed up and for business and that sort of thing. And they go along, it goes along, and she notices the dress on the subway begins to change a little bit. And gets much more casual, shall we say. And then what happens is she goes through the Bronx Tunnel. And when they get to the exit on the other side, everybody gets off, except her. And so she can see there's a car ahead of her and a car behind her, and she's the only one on there. They go on to the next stop. There's 6 young men walk up to the car, and she sees them literally throwing wallets in the track before they get on. And there's 3 cars. She says, well, somebody get on, and, they won't be here. And they come down, and they sit 2 on one side of her, 2 on the other side of her, 2 across from her in their leather and chains. And she begins to get afraid. Now, Glenda's a person who in her life has really sought connection and understanding of her heart. And so she makes the commitment to shift into her heart, to stay within the moment in her heart. And when she does that, she looks up at these guys and says, "Hi." And one of them responds very tough and macho-like in his, "What are you doing here?" And she says, "I'm on the way to pick up a puppy." And she begins to tell them about how she excited they found these wonderful little puppies and how cute they are. And so she's going on about the puppies, and when you're from Texas, it's hard to hide it, If you've ever known any Texan, it just comes out when they open their mouth. And so then they go, "Where are you from? What are you doing here?" And she explains that she's from Texas, but she's in town because she's illustrating the books, because she's an artist. And one guy says, "I'm an artist." And his friend says, "Yeah, he really is." And she says, "Oh, that's wonderful. What kind of art do you do?" He says, "That." And he points to the graffiti on the walls. And she says, "You know what? I know a lot of artists that would love to have that much exposure in New York City." And they're getting close to the station, and these guys turn to her and say, "This is a really tough and dangerous area. You really shouldn't be here." They get out and they escort her to her taxi to keep her safe. And she gets in the taxi, and the taxi driver jumps, and he explains in several languages how really dumb she is to be there. But part of what she said from her experience says, "Of one thing I'm sure, without the command of my heart and the suspension of my mind, the whole event would have resulted in some kind of pain instead of a treasured memory." Because at that place, in that moment, not in the future, when you're in there, you don't go to the future. She was able to be in that moment and be in her heart. And if you ever see her art, one of the things that you will understand is her awareness of the presence of God. But there was another possibility within what was taking there. And that's how we step into the higher possibility of what is within our world. It's not in your future. It is in this beautiful, sacred moment of now. That's where it is. And within that energy, within that spiritual connection, that energy releases from within the heart the potentials for the goodness and the blessing. It is in that moment that we do understand, I am so loved. Join me. I am so loved. You are right now. Again, I am so loved. More than we can ever comprehend. Again, I am so loved. One of the places that I go to when I want to deepen my journey into the now. It's a wonderful book, The Immortal Now, by Patricia Grabo, and Patricia's been here. And she was here last week, so I asked her to leave a couple books to Barbara over there, and grabbed another one for me. And I want to share with you just something from what she's sharing. She's talking about transcendence. Again, this ability that we have to move from one level of being into another, to literally move from that third dimension that our mind brings us into the fourth, and to touch the unlimited, amazing potential within the fifth. The transcendence is occurring in the present time. It is occurring within the now. It is always occurring. To understand the present time is to truly understand the nature of love. For both are totally one. This moment is pure love. This presence is pure love. Who you are right now is pure love. There's a teacher that I go back to often, and it's Lao Tzu, and he speaks of the Tao. And as he does, I understand that that it is this divine presence that is filling this moment. And that to be centered in that is to be in this moment aware of that presence. And he says, she who is centered in the Tao can go where she wishes without danger. She perceives the universal harmony even amidst great pain, because she has found peace within her heart. To find and live in that peace in your heart and to perceive the universal harmony, it is there, you are one with it. It is love. And you are loved. Thank you, God. Bless you.
Thank you, David. So from our hearts. If you'd like prayer support for challenges or celebrations our heart ministers are available after the service. And you're also invited to place a prayer request in our prayer box by the back door. And we will be praying with you throughout the week. Now it's time that we shift up here. We shift our energy to our prosperity celebration. It is all prosperity in different ways, isn't it? Please remember, if you're giving a Love in Action donation, to use the envelopes that are marked Love in Action. And I invite you to take your tithes and or offerings in your hands and hold them close to your heart. And for all of us to remember that God is the source of all our good. And would you join with me in our affirmation? It is divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I'm truly grateful.
One, two, three, four.
Let's ring out the bells of freedom. Our hearts beat the rhythm of joy. We'll live through this world of illusion. Our love is too strong to destroy. Let's take the ladder through the mirror
And stand upon a different land.
where all the unanswered questions can be found in the palm of your hand. Let's ring out the bells of freedom. Our hearts beat the rhythm of joy. We'll live through this world of illusion. Our love is too strong to destroy. There are forests in the mountains
And rivers in the valley floors.
and the rainbow never ends for those waiting on silver shores. We'll soar like the eagle, dance in the wind. We'll find our peace where truth begins. Let's ring out the bells of freedom. Our hearts beat the rhythm of joy. We'll live through this world of illusion. Our love is too strong to destroy. Oh, now I found my way back home.
Where the stories I never heard
Are filling my heart with gold from the sweet song of the bird. We'll soar like the eagle, dance in the wind. We'll find our peace where truth begins. Let's ring out the bells of freedom. Our hearts beat the rhythm of joy. We'll live through this world of illusion. Our love is too strong to destroy. Let's ring out the bells of freedom. Our hearts beat the rhythm of joy. We'll live through this world of illusion. Our love is too strong to destroy. Let's ring out the bells of freedom. We are walking in the light, in the light, in the light. We are walking in the light of God. In the light, 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 in the light of God.
Children, you are loved, special, and important. God loves you, and so do we. And we receive these gifts, knowing that the true gift given here is that commitment on each of our hearts to touch this world in a way that brings forth its wholeness, its beauty, and its peace. In the Christ joy. Amen.
Amen.
Let's take hand and share together our prayer of protection. Together, the light of God surrounds us The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And our peace song.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be, with God ever present, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
You are the love and the light and the peace in the earth right now. So let it shine and have fun.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, now that we're back home, freedom, our hearts beat the rhythm of joy. We'll live through this world of illusion. Our love is too strong to destroy. Oh, now that we're back home,
Where the stories I never heard
are filling my heart with gold. From the sweet song of the bird, we'll soar like the eagle, dance in the wind. We'll find our peace where truth begins. Let's ring out the bells of freedom. Our hearts beat the rhythm of joy. We'll live through this world of illusion. Our love is too strong to destroy. Let's ring out the bells of freedom. Our hearts beat the rhythm of joy. We'll live through this world of illusion. Our love is too strong to destroy. Let's ring out the bells of freedom.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
You guys started on the chorus. You said you were from. Excellent.
Well, that's what I thought too, Nate.
It's all right. It's all good.
Excellent. Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, David.
Excellent song you guys wrote. Excellent.
Thank you. I like the new keyboard. It sounds awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good job, John.
Very good, Stephen. Thank you for giving me a chance to join in.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. It's Mo Betta.
Ah, yes. It's good. It's good. Somehow the miracles keep happening.
Yes. I know.
I don't want to be complacent about them, but it's good to expect them.